Hello! Today I'm really excited because I am going to do the Shakespeare book tag. I saw this for the first time on Hardback Hoarder's channel. I'll link that video down below. I'm not sure who created it originally, but if I can find that, I'll link that down below too. I actually focused on Shakespeare in my studies, and I've been reading Shakespeare since very young, so I am really excited. So let's get started. The first question is Much Ado About Nothing. It's your favorite bickering couple who everyone knows really cares about each other. For this one, I'm going to go with Cathy and Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights. They are sort of angsty couple. Their story is really tragic. Wuthering Heights is one of my favorites. So the second one is Measure for Measure, a book whose plot or genre is hard to explain to other people. For this one, I'm going to go with Illuminae, not because it's actually hard to explain, but anytime I try to start explaining it to someone, I have to stop because it's really hard to explain the plot without giving away basically anything. The next one is Midsummer Night's Dream, your favorite book featuring fairies or elves. For this one, I actually have two. The first one is Wicked Lovely by Melissa Marr, and the second one is Tithe by Holly Black. Melissa Marr and Holly Black are my two go-to fairy authors. Basically, anytime they come out with a book about a fairy, I will read it. And Tithe is the first fairy book I read. Wicked Lovely is one of my favorite series of all time. Wicked Lovely is about a girl who can see fairies, but she tries to hide it for a very long time and then ends up making a mistake, and the fairies find out and chaos ensues. Her life is turned completely upside down. Tithe is about a changeling, a girl who was switched at birth with a fairy. She slowly finds out as she realizes that she's a fairy. The next question is Hamlet, an underutilized female character. I'm going to go with Penelope from the Odyssey. The Odyssey isn't really fun, light reading, but Penelope is an amazing character. She's a kick-ass female, but she kind of gets ignored in this one for the most part. You know, it's mostly the story of Odysseus, so obviously she doesn't get talked about as much in this because he's going home, so they're not even together in most of the book. However, Margaret Atwood kind of remedied that a little bit with this book, the Penelopiad, which is Penelope's story of the Odyssey, so what she was going through, basically from the time she met Odysseus until it's a really, really fascinating read. I highly recommend. If you haven't picked this one up yet, you should. And it's less than 200 pages, so it's not even that long. If you've read the Odyssey and you kind of wondered about Penelope a little bit more, the Penelopiad exists. Question 5 is the sonnets, your favorite poem. My favorite poem is A Valediction Forbidding Morning by John Donne. He's one of the metaphysical poets from the 17th century in Britain. I don't really know what else to say about a poem other than, you know, check it out. The next one is Richard III, a protagonist who will do anything to get what they want. And this one's kind of tricky because usually the villain is the one who's willing to do anything to get what they want. But I'm gonna go with Psyche from Eros and Psyche, which is my favorite myth. Psyche is willing to go through all the trials that Aphrodite sets out for her, no matter what the cost is to her, in order to get back to Eros. The next one is Antony and Cleopatra, your favorite trope or bookish buzzword, historical figure, etc., for which you still haven't found that perfect book. Again, I'm going to go with Eros and Psyche because I still have not found a retelling of Eros and Psyche that I am in love with. First of all, there aren't many, but second of all, they're kind of disappointing. Most mythological retellings don't even mention Psyche, like Eros is on his own, just kind of causing trouble on his own. In the mythos, he's married with 2 kids, actually. So I'm still looking for some sort of retelling with Eros and Psyche that I really love. The next one is Titus Andronicus, a lesser known work by a famous author that you wish more people would read. I'm going to go with Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is super popular, but I don't know many people who have read Fortunately the Milk, even big Neil Gaiman fans. And it is so funny. I mean, it's a kid's book. It's an illustrated chapter book. So you can get through it pretty quickly, but so many people haven't read it. I would love to know more Neil Gaiman fans that have read this one. Lavanna from the Lunar Chronicles. She's pretty darn evil by the time you get to the Lunar Chronicles, and I would say even in Fairest I don't have that much sympathy for her, but from Lavanna's perspective, she's not as villainous as we see her. So I think that kind of makes her complex. Maybe, maybe not. The last question is Taming of the Shrew. Pick 2 polarizing books, one you loved and one you hated. So the first one is one I loved. I realized that there are some problematic aspects of this book, and I haven't reread it in a long time, but I did actually love it a lot, and that's Beautiful Creatures. It's a fun read. I wouldn't say it's the most complex read that you'll ever encounter, but I thought it was enjoyable and I really loved it. I know a lot of people hate on this book a lot and the rest of the series as well, but I actually really loved it. Movie, not so much. But the book, sure. The other book is the one that I hate, and I'm not even sure that this is a polarizing opinion anymore, but the Twilight series, I hate it a lot. And I read them all as they came out when I was quite young, and I liked them when I read them. And then I guess it was at the end of my freshman year of college, I reread them and I just hated them. I kind of questioned my sanity why I even liked them, and I just hated them. I got rid of all my copies. I will never reread them, and there's just so many problematic aspects to it. And I feel like now people sort of don't gush about it as much as they used to. And if, you know, it takes all kinds, so if people still like them, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. I can't read them and be okay with some of the content. And that's it for the Shakespeare book tag. As always, there are so many books and so little time, so I'm going to go read, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!